Hello there, and welcome to the September podcast of my monthly capture of the ever-fluid and dynamic world of South Asian Indian dance. This is Anita Says, and I am Anita Ratnam. I begin with the wise words of award-winning film actor Anthony Hopkins. He says, "No one leaves here alive. So please, stop treating yourself as an afterthought. Eat delicious food, walk in the sun, jump into the sea, speak the truth that you carry in your heart like a hidden treasure. Be silly, be good, be weird. There's no time for anything else." Let's think about this for a moment. Very few of us have the courage to follow through on all and each and every one of his prompts. But we can keep this mantra in our hearts as we breathe through our days and pursue our goals. This month's podcast is a significant landmark in my foray into this medium, and I will tell you why later. I will touch upon the birth and quick demise of breakdancing at the Olympics. How one film showed why talent without the right temperament cannot take a dancer anywhere. How a true mentor is not a replacement for a dance guru or teacher, and why classical dancers, especially those based in India, are facing a losing battle with the economics of accompanying musicians. So, wherever you are in the world, wake up, buckle up, and get ready to listen to the September edition of Anita Says. As I am coming to you, many cities in India are still protesting and holding candlelight vigils as a response to the horrific attack on the 31-year-old female medical trainee at RG Kar Hospital in Kolkata on August 9th. The soul-numbing rape murder occurred in the middle of the night when the 31-year-old was resting in the hospital seminar hall. The incident has since turned political, and updates and revelations are emerging every day. The startling revelation of the Justice Hema Commission has also exposed the rampant misogyny in the Kerala film industry. As more and more women film actors are coming out to speak of the #MeToo exploitation, we are made aware of how the casting couch has morphed into a sinister metaphor to shame and threaten professional women. In the creative industries, late-night hours are almost the norm. Across campuses, young women are studying, researching, creating, and writing projects into the wee hours of the night. How can they be safe? As a former New Yorker, I was in the editing room until 2 a.m. on many occasions and walked home at that hour. I knew which streets were brightly lit and which to avoid, often crisscrossing the avenues to stay safe. The same awareness stayed with me even while riding the New York City subway after midnight. It is not advisable, but millions of working women are not punching the clock from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., including live performance artists. As women break glass ceilings every day, attacks on their bodies are on the rise. As a stage performer, I also realize that perhaps no other body has been more objectified and politicized than a dancer, across genres, to be gazed at, lusted for, commented upon, and possessed. Every emotion has been projected upon her, and every attempt made to silence, subjugate, and trample upon her dreams and ambitions. And yet, she has risen. As the definition of woman, its spelling, expands in alphabets and identities, her personal and physical safety is still at the forefront and center of social debate. You are listening to Anita Says, a monthly capture of the global world of South Asian Indian dance, and I am Anita Ratnam. Crash and burn. We watched as Australian break dancer Rachel Ray Gunn, crashed and burned at the Paris Olympics, becoming a meme and the butt of hateful comments online. The underwhelming showing of this genre, which was a hard-fought battle for the Breakdancing Federation as a sport, resulted in the Olympics Committee deleting it from its roster for the next edition in 2028. Within the brief moment of glory, the spotlight did shine on breakdancing, or breaking as it is referred to. Queer breakers are now speaking out. Homophobic lyrics and an art form linked to hypermasculinity is being navigated on a rough terrain by the non-binary breakdancing community. However, the fallout of Reagan's performance turned meme was that some behavioral experts analyzed her facial expressions and, in particular, her chin movements. When a chin is projected out, they inferred that it reflected aggression, which could be masking self-doubt. This analysis, if taken onto the stage while watching a dancer in action, could tell us about a performer's own personality, perhaps. The smile, the gait, the stance, the mode of abhinaya, the tilt of the head, the actions of pleading, pining, rejoicing, lamenting, raging, could perhaps indicate the personality and psychology of the dancer. Now that would surely make for an interesting session. Temperament and talent. One is useless without the other. Brilliant potential can be ruined by a wayward temperament. A case in point was a recent film called Call Me Dancer. Director and former dancer Leslie Champagne screened her passion project in Chennai. Over 5 years, she followed two underprivileged and hugely talented dancers at choreographer Ashley Lobo's dance studio in Mumbai. 22-year-old Manish and 12-year-old Amir. Displaying natural talent, both were seized with a passion for dance. At Lobo's studio, they met ballet master Yehuda, a 75-year-old former professional artist from Israel. Under his keen tutelage, both boys blossomed. And here is a lesson about how a good teacher can transform into a mentor. Yehuda contacted international dance academies in Europe, UK, and the USA to facilitate the professional training for the two young men. A decade apart, Manish and Amir's talents were immediately noticed by artistic directors and choreographers who invited them to become part of their companies. With little money and the timely support of Chennai businesswoman Miriam Ram, Manish and Amir traveled abroad to move further toward their dream. Yehuda was watching their progress and keeping in touch with their social adjustment problems through Skype and FaceTime. As the evocative film ended, we saw a more confident Manish walking to his dance studio in Brooklyn as a member of a contemporary dance company. Amir, who was the more naturally talented, fell off the grid and disappeared while en route from New York to Chicago to join the Joffrey Ballet. Yes, disappeared. Nobody knows where he is. Did his very modest upbringing, early years of malnutrition, and lack of language and social skills finally thwart his dream? Did he sabotage his own success? From a teacher to a guru to a mentor, Yehuda was by the side of both dancers for more than 5 years of their training, travels, and travails. Watching Manish at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. perform a short solo, eyes tearing up at the challenging journey they had made together, was so moving to watch. Yehuda shines as an example of a true mentor. Here is someone who not just trained in technique and drilled geometric perfection. He has encouraged discussion, stimulated curiosity, urged the student-mentee to collaborate, and opened up opportunities for further learning and growth. And he watched proudly as the mentees developed, matured, and took flight, going closer to their dreams. You're listening to the podcast Anita Says, and I'm Anita Ratnam. You cannot afford to be a professional performing dancer in India today. The cost of a performance, including rehearsals, has become crushing. The recently concluded and well-attended Natya Rangam Festival in Chennai is a clear case in point for young dancers about the dismal state of dance economy in India. This 28-year-old festival is well established and the organizers could have easily ticketed this eagerly awaited annual event since it features themes illuminated by well-known dancers. Why should it be free when organizers pay barely 25,000 rupees to an artist? Imagine that amount placed against the vocalist alone demanding 25,000 rupees for one show. How much and for how long can the dancers dig into their own pockets to pay other orchestra members? Another 25,000? Where does it end? Are the organizers turning a blind eye to this, quote, looting? What is the purpose of such skewed economics that is only growing in favor of the dance accompanists? What is the answer? Will any one of the singers, percussionists, flautists, violinists, and others who live off these dancers agree to reduce their fee? Why should they, when prices in India are now being quoted in US dollars? Let's now talk about the double standards of the Carnatic music community when it comes to accompanying dance. The training is the same, but when it comes to professional opportunities, those musicians who play for Carnatic vocalists are considered more worthy of respect within the fraternity as compared to artists who accompany a dancer. In terms of economics, dance accompanists earn far more than their colleagues who play for vocal concerts. So on one hand, there is a lot of money to be made playing for dance, yet the respect in the field does not match up. Dance musicians rarely get solo performing opportunities in any sabhas. Music gurus actively discourage their students from entering the dance field and playing for dance. However, when some musicians actually begin their collaboration with dance, they do not miss any opportunity to extract the maximum from every performance and rehearsal, building a very comfortable lifestyle, all at the expense of the hapless, helpless dancer. The money inflow more than compensates for the lack of respect and acknowledgement. Coming back to the Natya Rangam festival, it was the unanimous opinion that Uma Satyanarayanan took top honours for her exploration of the Vasanta Ritu spring season. Singing live and having composed the music by herself, Uma looked confident and danced with a fluid ease, reflecting the essence of her guru Chitra Vishweshwaran's style. Vaibhav Arekar ended his theatrical presentation of Varsha Monsoon with the current-day climactic changes of erratic rains and drought that is afflicting farmers across India. Relatively unknown on the programming roster was Ramya Suresh, daughter-in-law of Guru Indra Kadambi. Props, lighting design, and several other affects were at play for her presentation of Sharad Ritu, the autumn season. Her brave experiments gave rise to the dire need for classically trained dancers to pay more attention to the collaborative process and presence of how lighting, set designs, and props become co-performers and not just add-ons. As more dance teachers and performers are building impressive dance studios in India, perhaps they should now also plan on lighting these spaces for professional tech rehearsals with the right audio equipment so that these thematic and ambitious performances can be tried and tweaked before the final presentation. Trying everything on stage without proper tech time and a full run-through may not be the norm in India. This current style of just get on the stage and perform cannot work any longer if Gen Z and the millennials want to develop a global presence beyond the diaspora network. Dance gurus must bring in other experts to help navigate these aspects that may not have been part of their core training. Using one's voice on stage also takes training. As the theatrical and spectacle aspects of dance increases, the dance teacher must first realize that they may not have the expertise or answers for everything. Students must also be prepared to train seriously in other aspects of performance and not just slap on these aspects carelessly. You're listening to the podcast Anita Says, and I'm Anita Ratnam. Myths and mythology will always be in fashion. The retelling of ancient tales and myths is often considered, quote, old-fashioned and out of date by the contemporary dance world. However, Akram Khan returns to this genre with unfailing regularity. His latest production, Jigenis, features Mevin Koo, Ranjit and Vijna, Maithili Prakash, and others, and draws from Greek mythology and personal diary. Yes, personal diary. This is the potent alchemy that I have used since 1998 in Daughters of the Ocean. At that time, when I wove the stories of my female ancestors through the myths of the goddesses, I was told that nobody spoke their own stories. On stage, one erased personal identity for channeling the divine, which was the larger purpose of Indian dance. Yet, there was not a dry eye in the house whenever I performed this highly experimental dance theatre work. Today, Akram Khan has made it his personal idiom, taking his Bangladeshi heritage and his UK person of colour presence into a global brand. In one of his latest Instagram posts, he says that his work is not political. Instead, he states, it is humanical, filled with the possibility of a humanity that lives in each of us. The Jigenis team is currently in residence in Italy, and after the world premiere, it tours Europe, UK, and the USA. From Australia to New York City. After sweeping every award in the Australian theatre circuit, the acclaimed play Counting and Cracking arrives in New York City for a 3-week run at NYU's Skirball Theatre. Written by Shakti Dharan, son of Australian Bharatanatyam and Kuchipudi icon Anandavalli, this play is about the Sri Lankan immigrant experience. All reviews and responses have been nothing short of adulatory and ecstatic. I hope New Yorkers will catch this show and to see how again personal experiences can be mined into rich narratives. As the fall season emerges in the Northern Hemisphere, artists are preparing for their brand new productions. I have watched young dancers Harini Jeevitha and Meera Srinarayanan break through the tough walls to become internationally praised artists. Both deserve the interest and the applause that is coming their way. Ragamala Dance Company from Minnesota, America's most successful Bharatanatyam ensemble, prepares for their new work, Children of Dharma, which premieres in November and tours several major venues like the Joyce Theatre in New York City. Erasing Borders returns to New York, and other companies are readying new works to be shared. From Washington, D.C., Kuchipudi dancer Yamini Serapalli is part of a team that seeks to return Kuchipudi to its roots. Planning an ambitious dance festival in the village of Kuchipudi in Andhra Pradesh, she hopes to take this now global form of full circle back to its roots. Hopefully, this initiative will energize and improve the living conditions of the artists and visitors to this historic place. New York City forever. There's always something to do, see, visit, and explore in my former hometown. On this visit, I watched the exciting physicality of Pilobolus, the energetic dance company at the Joyce. Seeing strong, supple female bodies surging across the stage with confidence was so affirming. The relentless physicality of this company's mantra has kept them as a popular seat filler in every venue they inhabit. A rare opportunity to share space with wonderful storytellers was presented to me by Laura Sims, one of America's most soulful storytellers. The annual outdoor festival at Central Park's Hans Christian Andersen statue is a crowd puller. Set against the pond where the children steer their tiny boats and ducks are fed with breadcrumbs, this oasis in the heart of the bustling Big Apple was a scene for a variety of stories from Indonesia, Africa, Jamaica, South America, and India. I fused the themes of the giant turtle that the Vietnamese revere as the guardian of their waters with the myth of Lord Vishnu assuming that form to help the churning of the mighty ocean for the nectar of immortality. Speaking, moving, and addressing multiple generations is always challenging. I invited the children to be part of the snake Vasuki that churns the waters with the Mount Mandara. Storytelling is a precious art. We use it every time we perform. But the art has now become more important since COVID and a surefire way where hearts connect with one another in every aspect of our lives. Returning from a quick trip to New York City, I watched a private concert of Aniruddha night at his ancestral home in Chennai. Flanked by giant portraits of his mother Lakshmi Knight and his iconic grandmother Bala Saraswati, Aniruddha performed with ease, accompanied by his cousin, the wonderfully talented Thiruvarur Girish, and mridangist Adayar Gopinath. This private concert gave me a perspective of the grand salons that Bala held in the 1950s, 60s and 70s at this very home. She was a wonderful cook and would feed 75 people with her cuisine after a performance. The beautiful space held centuries and generations of dance history and the imprint of so many great visiting artists. This kind of legacy could crush a timid soul. Aniruddha has taken it forward confidently through his own interventions, choreographies, and excellently trained students. A splendid debut. It is almost a relief these days to watch a well-executed arangetram. Without the fuss of endless gifting, shawl offering, loquacious speeches, this debut performance that I watched, delivered with competence and confidence, was like a gift in this endless sea of mediocrity, Bharatanatyam mediocrity that saturates Chennai. I was invited to the arangetram of a 13-year-old Chinese student from Beijing, Le Mu Zi, student of Isha, who in turn was a student of Leela Samson. This teenager, accompanied by her proud parents and grandparents, performed with a sweetness and agility that reflected her training in the Kalakshetra style. The items chosen were the traditional gems like Tishra Alaripu, Sarasi Jakshulu Shabdam, Manavi Chekona Varnam, with gestures, the hand gestures being choreographed by the famous hereditary artist Mylapore Gauriamma. I was seated next to chief guest Braga Bessel, and we were both joyously singing along, mouthing the Varnam Jatis and enjoying young Lee's excellent performance. Leela Samson conducted the evening with her measured calm. Discipline shone through Lee's performance, her leaps and finishing flourish of each movement displaying beautiful control. The large crowd of young dancers at the Bhavan Auditorium in Mylapore left beaming and content, as was I. You're listening to Anita Says, a monthly podcast, and this is Anita Ratnam. This podcast has an interesting backstory. September marks the first anniversary of the monthly podcast Anita Says. It was exactly 12 months ago, in late September 2023, where I found myself sitting in my niece's home in San Mateo, California, afflicted with a nagging cold and cough. With me was the talented Kazakh Bharatanatyam dancer, influencer, and beauty entrepreneur, Kasiet. For weeks, she had been nagging me about starting a podcast. I had every intention to launch on this audio platform, but never got around to it. So, on a cloudy afternoon, Kasiet opened up her iPhone, placed it in front of me, hit the record button and said, "Speak." Amidst several interruptions with my coughing and sneezing, creating loud sonic interruptions, I read out my October Nartaki editorial. There, it was done. Editing it very carefully, Kasiet produced and launched the audio podcast of Anita Says on Spotify on October 1st, 2023. So this marks the 12th podcast and it has completed 1 full year. Now, without Kasiet's prodding and relentless pushing, I would not have premiered the podcast. This intergenerational working relationship has been a huge learning curve. Social media is exhausting but necessary today. Doing a podcast or a reel or a story is just not enough. The cross-posting between other platforms, creating video excerpts, staying the course is the bigger challenge. It takes planning, consistency, diligence, and patience. Now, naturally tech-savvy dancers like Kasiet find this medium so easy, so natural, and very fulfilling. She is among the very few Bharatanatyam dancers in her generation who understands the dynamics and algorithms of social media and navigates them with ease. Now, a whole year later, the monthly podcast has become a popular option for many of you who are on the treadmill, driving, cooking, and going about your daily tasks. It can be paused and resumed at any stage, and many have shared their appreciation of being able to catch up on what is happening in Indian dance through my lens. I'm really enjoying this channel, having started my media career as a radio jockey in New York City. Since November of last year, I've been recording Anita Says at the Digi Sound Studios, owned and managed by L. Baba Prasad, son of my guru Adyar K. Lakshman. How the world brings me back to Bharatanatyam and my roots. Incredible. I look forward to hearing from you about the issues you care about and topics you would like me to write and speak about. I remain constantly grateful for the space and voice to share my thoughts. It has been and will continue to be a huge privilege to have a presence on these platforms and to have some of your valuable time and attention. As free speech and sharp opinions are being curtailed with severe punishments and even incarcerations, I realize the value of spaces like these. Thank you. Many of us celebrated Sri Krishna's birthday. It's time now to welcome the portly and good-natured Ganesha into our homes for a brief visit. Ganesh Chaturthi. Festivals are joyous occasions which unite generations and create such goodwill and bonhomie. Whatever be the occasion and whatever the reason or belief, it is rituals that renew our faith in the circle of life and the precious gift of family and friends. Signing off with a beaming smile on my face and a plate full of special festival goodies that are waiting for me at home. Stay well, safe and joyous, even though the world is snapping at our heels. Until next time, this is Anita Ratnam saying, thank you for listening.